Have you ever felt like your brain has 100 different tabs open? Each one of them trying to constantly validate and verify your choices, your decisions, your to do lists. Today, we're going to see if we're able to somehow try and close some of those tabs and start finding out what is the difference between overthinking and maybe just tuning into your own inner voice. Joining me today is Rahul Sarkar. Rahul is Director of Talent Development at Fidelity Investments and comes with close to 25 years of experience in various industries, coaching and training the workforce. Rahul and I also go way back. I'm sure we've navigated our own journey through the corporate landscape, dealing with various situations. So, thank you, Rahul, for taking the time to do this. And it's really nice that though we don't get to catch up very often, but at least we're able to do so through this opportunity today. So, thank you and welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me here, Sanjana. I'm looking forward to this conversation and discovering more about each other, and hopefully, there are some nuggets that your listeners can take away.
Yes, absolutely. So let's dive right in. I want to take a peek into the past. So, if we were to think about Rahul as a 10-year-old kid, right? Think back to that time and maybe lean into what your perception was at that given time. Were you more of a thinker or a feeler? Even in generic things, whether it came to a meal that you wanted to eat, a game that you wanted to play, what was your go to response? Was it from the heart or the mind?
That's a great question, taking me down the memory lane, like you said, right? So I think I was more of a feeler when I'm kind of reflecting now. Um, those were days. A little bit about me, probably what would help you understand the context. So I had to really slow down my pace in order to
Yeah.
kind of get even to be invited to play with them. So it was a
Mhm.
conscious choice of how I felt at that moment, or even the other. Sometimes the extreme is who was available for a game or anything else. So my
Right.
choices were more from a feeling as well as the options available around me. I would say that way.
So, when you say more from a standpoint of feeling, was it just where you felt more comfortable and safer at
Yes.
that given time?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And I think I kind of understand that because it was a very similar situation with me. My sister is 10 years older than I am, and
Uh-huh.
the community where we lived in, all the kids were closer to her age group, and I was the odd one out. So, as much as I tagged along with her, but always feeling like, no, I don't belong, and this is
Yeah.
not where I want to be. So, yeah, there was always a lot of thinking for me because should I go or should I not go?
Should I?
You always have FOMO if you don't go, but when you go, you feel odd. So it's kind of a hard situation for a young kid. So yeah, I absolutely relate to your experience.
Thank you. Yeah, that's so it was a combination of multiple things happening at the same time, energy, how you're feeling, what you're thinking,
Mhm.
yeah, and the FOMO taking over as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think as we grow up, the stakes get much higher, right? I think the impact of decisions is very different. And the weight of those decisions definitely feels much heavier than it did when we were children. So, as you've navigated, college and education and the workspace as well, how do you think this DNA changed for you? Do you still see imprints of, that 10-year-old in how you navigate situations today, or is it quite different?
In fact, some of the guiding principles almost remain similar even today, Sanjana, right? I mean, if I were
Mhm.
to really think about how I behave in a society, community, or even family functions or workplace, I think it is still somewhere guided by that. that where do I want to really contribute or shine? And one of the things, one of the movies that I've watched, and the title is catchy, and I'm sure all of us remember this, Geo and Gene, right? So the,
Yeah.
what it essentially means is live and let live, and then
Right.
which means that don't poke your nose in unwanted places where you will create harm to the others, and otherwise you have 2 ears and one mouth, so make use of the ears, listen more and speak less. So any
Mhm.
conversation that I am in, I am either listening in, and very few places where I want to really make a point, something that is in my area of work, where if I did not speak up, it will never get done. That's where I
Right.
would kind of speak up and keep moving. So
Mhm.
personally, I believe in being that quiet person, get your job done and let your work speak for yourself. So in many forms, the DNA that I have discovered is what am I up for? Is my plate already overflowing? In which case, probably I'll let it go. Otherwise, I'll kind of take a stab at it and say, okay, let me kind of do this. I think I have more time at hand. I have a space to think. So I think I would go ahead and put my ideas forward.
So would you say then it's more of an analytical mindset where you
Yes.
weigh the pros and cons?
Yes, and it happens over because, like I mentioned, because it has been happening for many years over the decades that it has
Mhm.
happened. So it just develops a shortcut like anything. I know whether I'll be successful, I would not be successful. Will I be able to drive the point home? Parallelly, to add to this, right, I also know because I had to fit in into that either the elder lot or the younger lot, I had to always think about what is in it for them. Why will they allow me to kind of participate or invite me to their space? Because it's
Yeah.
also uncomfortable getting inviting someone into your space is not easy,
Mhm.
right? Because you're opening up some portion of you and then letting the other person walk in and contribute and add to that
Yeah.
whatever is happening. It could be a fun, it could be some entertainment, it could be some celebration. So why should anyone open the door? So I would always start thinking about what is it that I'm bringing as a value to him or her, so that they would welcome me. If not, at least not close the door.
Yeah.
At least I have a, at least I have a
At
foot on the
least
door.
you have a peek inside.
Yeah. So whether I
Yeah.
choose to go, not go, that's still there, but at least don't burn bridges. Maintain a open door.
Mhm.
At least you have not hurt them so much that they close the door completely. So
Yeah.
that's been my philosophy even today.
Yeah, I think I
The
can
DNA.
attest to that because I've seen it in action over the years.
Yeah, so that's what has shaped me and what I do.
Yeah, great. So leaning into this analytical mindset a little bit, it of course requires quite a bit of thinking and judgment in terms of how you navigate any given situation. Can you recall maybe one situation where this didn't serve you so well? Maybe it went into almost like an overthinking kind of a mode and you felt stuck and kind of spiraled into a loop of indefinite possibilities and you couldn't make up your mind.
Yeah, I think indecision is quite a thing if you allow it to kind of creep into your life. And I think as in childhood days, during the school days, I think all of us had this one lesson. I think the theme says you have too many choices, and I think every minute we are looking at some 7,000 odd thoughts bubbling into our head, right? And with number of thoughts bubbling into your head, you are always like, which way to go? Do I take right? Do I take left? And
Yeah,
if I whatever I choose, there will be pros and cons. At
true.
that point in time, what data, what points did I look at in order to arrive at my point? And time is the biggest healer, or time is the biggest what do you say, defining moment, which will tell you whether the decision that you have taken in the past has worked or has failed.
It's worked or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of trust that guidance that hey, what I'm trying to do, I have looked at pros and cons based on my current circumstances, based on my current situation, and I have taken a choice based on that. And in a couple of months, couple of weeks, couple of years, if it is a work related, you will know in 12 months because with the yearly
Year-end appraisal.
appraisal whether it
Yes.
it worked or it didn't. But
Yeah.
at a family situation, it might show up within couple of years or may have a lasting impression beyond. So time is a great revealer, healer in that sense,
Absolutely. Mhm.
either way. So I think that's what it is. I don't, so with that little guiding framework, right? Life becomes easy. I'm like, and the other aspect that I believe is getting to know about how your brain functions. So you have a servant brain and a master brain. So you just logical brain is kind of working when you are active or when you are awake, and the sleeping brain takes over. You throw a puzzle and it'll solve you by the time you wake up. So somewhere I'm struggling. What should I do? What do I do? I said, okay, let's sleep over it, literally sleep over it. And next
Yeah.
day, whatever comes up, I think is the best decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more affirmations in the books like Blink and everything else, right? Which tells you that whatever is
Mhm.
your first decision usually is the best decision. And
Mhm.
so far they have worked. So not a big fan of overthinking, but that's what it is.
So that's interesting. As you say, the first decision is sometimes the best decision, which, as we were talking, before this recording, you mentioned I might not be very big on intuition, and I don't know if that's something that, is a part of my life, and we'll discover it through this conversation. But if I had to compare, this thought of the first decision is probably the best decision, do you think then that actually comes from a place of intuition or a gut feeling?
Yeah, you can say that when I'm like I said, right? Many times I would just let things flow because the circumstances, people around me, kind of what I'm trying to get to is one individual and the capability of the team is much higher than the individual. So I kind of trust the system and the people around me. So I might have an idea and I'm open to ideas because then this is how I'm thinking, this is my current problem, this is how I'm thinking I should solve. And I present all the options to my team, whether it is my direct reports, my peers, someone has no relevance or idea of this group or the activity that I'm working on. And I keep popping this pop quiz to everyone and then come
Okay.
up with something because the end decision is mine, right?
Right.
I can choose to keep it for days. I can choose to do it for a couple of hours or months, but the end decision is mine because action or inaction is still an action. So I am
Correct.
taking an action.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How quickly I make up my mind, I think you kind of come out of the loop faster. So I believe in getting away with it or getting over it quicker the better, unless someone comes back and says, "Hey, can you revise this? It doesn't seem right, and here is
Mhm.
why I feel." But otherwise, I'll try and kind of get over it within 24 hours or max of 48 hours. I would not linger that thought beyond that time.
So then, is that your practice to give yourself almost like a cutoff, saying that I'm not going to spend more than, X amount of time on a certain decision?
You can say so because overall, we all have limited time and we would
True.
like to do many things within that given or that short period of time. And therefore, how do I become more effective if I'm always lingering about something? Of course, when you have enough time. Now, couple of advices that I have kind of received over the years. One of them is as you grow higher in the hierarchy, how much white space do you have in your calendar? So, which means, in short, is how much thinking time do you have? While I was at the lower rung of the hierarchy in the organization, I had to get things done. So if I had to
Correct.
get things done, you just have limited time of either get direction or create direction and move forward, right? Execute.
Mm-hmm.
Execution is the name of the game, whether it is operations, training. So it's really like that. Just get it
Yeah.
done.
You're on the
But
hook for
wait,
deliverables at every given
yeah.
time.
And then as you grow in the hierarchy, your decisions will have a lasting impression not just on you, on your direct teams, as well as the adjacent teams. So
Mm-hmm.
the sense of responsibility is even higher. So if responsibility is higher, um, but having said that, the disclaimer is I'm not in a business of saving lives, right? So we are not like in the
You don't have to get up
professional.
and do brain surgery.
Yeah, exactly. So if this is not the case where I'm not affecting people's lives so dramatically or literally, I am trying to take decisions which will affect their learning or their career. I'm looking at what is best for that individual, what is best for
Mm.
that customer. So at that point in time, what is it that he or she can benefit if I took that decision? Is it beneficial? Is it not so beneficial for them? And if the answer is yes, it is beneficial for them, I think I'll go ahead and do that.
So then I think in that case, the DNA of 10-year-old Rahul has definitely stuck on. And it seems like the same pattern that you follow today, because even at that time, you were thinking about what's in it for them. Like, why would I be allowed to play with a certain group of kids, for instance? It feels like that's carried through, and you're still thinking about outcomes, like not what's in it for me, but even what's in it for those who are around you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, hasn't changed much.
Yeah. And does the same continue in your personal relationships too, like friendships, family?
I would like to believe that's true because uh, you spend almost 60%, 70% of your waking hours at work, right, or more. So if
Yes.
you are doing the same thing at work, then you can't change too much.
Mm.
Chances are you will still become the same personality that you are at work. Maybe a minor, because sometimes people tend to say that, hey, we tend to put a additional layer, and the moment you put an additional layer on yourself, saying that, hey, I'm masking myself, I'm not this person in reality, but I am trying to pretend someone to belong or fit in, chances are you are pretending. And I
Yeah,
don't believe
absolutely.
in pretension because the more pretentious you are, chances are you will end up making mistakes somewhere that real you will come in. So
True. And then I think it's
trying
just a lot of burden trying to
lot
keep up with
about
these
it.
different versions.
Exactly. So therefore
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever I am, this is how I am. I'm always thinking about is it good for the other person, or at least in my sense, from my lens, it
Yeah.
seems positive.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the end person feels that way or not is a different ball game, and we can always sit and check what I could have done differently, what it could mean positive for you. That's a conversation, but otherwise, that's where it is.
Yeah. Do you think maybe this has been a little influenced by the Indian landscape? I mean, growing up here, there was a lot of focus on being the good child, being someone who always says yes and treats people well, and you treat elders respectfully. And there's always this almost like underlying current of trying to please the people around you, especially I think when it comes to people who are older than you, because
Yeah.
I think that kind of generational respect is something that was drilled into your mindset, growing up here. So, does it come from there for you to maybe keep looking at how something is good or beneficial for those around you?
Brilliant question, Sanjana. Thank you for asking that. I've been kind of reflecting for many years how or what could have shaped me, and different discussions, different interactions with people kind of compel you to think about certain aspects about ourselves and why we are whatever we are. And I think what you said is little community driven also. If you think about today, the life challenges are very different. And when we were growing up in 90s, 80s, right? Life was very different. And when
Yeah,
I
for
when I
sure.
show you how it was different, and probably you will know what is not there today. Those days were more carefree kind of life, right? Neighbors had the other neighbors' kids at home having
Yeah.
lunch, dinner,
Yes. We
which
were
you
in
can't
each
imagine
other's
today.
homes all the time.
Right? And then the neighbors would kind of say, "Hey, I have made this, and I know this is your favorite. Come and have that food here." So where you are having lunch that day would determine with whom you were and what they invited you, or
Yeah.
you were playing some games at someone's place, and then that
Hmm.
that family said, "Hey, it's already lunchtime. Go, come have." And what happens at home, because that food was also prepared there, and that's a different story,
True,
right?
that's a
So
whole other ball game.
and those are still the days, plus community where we live, and also the food that we eat. So I don't know if you have noticed or thought about this correlation. If you are cultivating rice and paddy, the difference is rice needs more water,
Yes.
right? So
Hmm.
the way that rice is cultivated on the land, it also absorbs water from the neighboring field, and you water the neighboring field parallelly. It's a two-way
Correct.
process. So which
Yeah.
means if you have to have a good yield, and if a neighbor's plot is dry, you will have
Hmm.
an affected crop,
True.
right? So it's a two-way. So if he or she has to have a good yield, your field has to be watered well, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
there's a
it's a very
dependence.
symbiotic relationship.
Exactly, exactly. So which means, so anyone who's grown up in a place where you are eating rice, eating community, that's by default, the interdependence is by design,
Mm.
right? So you develop this habit of what is good for the person, what is good for the neighbors, what is good for the community, and just build
Mm.
on that. So likewise, if I transfer that to my work today, what is good for that one individual or that customer that I'm trying to serve at that point in time? What is good for the team? What is good for the organization? If the answer is yes to all three, just go ahead and take the decision. And it's a lengthy analogy, but I hope it's making sense.
Yeah, of course. Because then I think as you have these key anchor points and you're thinking about who are the people in that equation at a given time and just start focusing on these aspects and what's good for, I think, the community, as you were saying, I think that brings down the entire overthinking or, extreme processing need, because you have your paths very clear and you know that you have energy to direct in these three or four areas, and you just focus on that, and then I think you get things done, whether it's in a personal or a professional setting.
Absolutely. And you don't have to put that mask or the facade, right? Saying,
True.
I'm pretending here or there. It is what it is, and it's equal. So to your previous question, do I differentiate too many things? That okay, this is my family, and then I have to treat them differently. This is my colleague, therefore I have to treat them differently. This is my senior leader. This is my junior staff or early career employees, and therefore I treat them differently. The answer is no.
Mm.
Why do I want to treat everyone differently? I should treat everyone in the same manner as I would like to be treated.
Absolutely, yeah.
So not trying to please everyone. What I feel is respectful for everyone. So whether it is through the salutation, whether it is through listening in, whether it is through your not shouting and just being amicable, I think those are some basic behaviors that all of us, hygiene factors that we can retain and move forward. So that's what keeps me grounded.
Yeah, that's amazing because I think when we have a personal value stream, I think the best way forward is extending that to those around us as well. And so then it's not very individual and centric to one human being, but that ripple effect then carries around. And I think that's a great shift in energy overall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if someone were to ask you if you're a gut or a brain person, what would you say?
I think if you really look at it, right? Um, I'm divided in in
Mm.
in both these directions, and therefore I want to clarify what I mean by that. So if I really look at work, work is a place where it is divided or devised with logic, saying this particular work has to be done because it has to achieve ABC kind of a
Right. Your
target or AB
objectives
kind of an
and yeah.
objectives, right?
Mhm.
So I know the definition of work or what will I do is driven by logic. So which is where
Mhm.
your analytical mindset comes in. How I get that done will be driven little based on emotion or based on your skill and based on everything else. So I would say the approach is human or intuitive, but the objective, what I'm trying to achieve, is analytical and logical because at the beginning of the year, when we are setting up those goals, those become very objective driven.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, so definitely you seem to have been someone who has been guided by clear objectivity and logic. Has there ever been a time this approach has not served you well?
Yeah, in personal relationships, I would say there's a big bit of a struggle because you
Mhm.
try to kind of put that objectivity, neutrality, and it doesn't work. And this is where the question is, do I want to please everyone? What does that relationship really mean? And it boils down to that layers of evaluation of pros and cons and so on. So sometimes in a personal relationship, because of the nature of the relationship, it doesn't work, right? At work with your colleagues, that's a working relationship. So and they don't have to
There's
kind
more
of see you.
objectivity.
It's more
Yeah.
objectivity comes in. So it's not
Mhm.
my work, your work. We are there for a particular
It's
reason
a
and we're getting things done.
collective, yeah, driving towards one outcome.
Yes, so there I think it works clearly. Where it doesn't work all the time is personal space. So whether it is at
Mhm.
home with relatives, extended family, sometimes it bombs, and the ripple effects last for weeks, months, sometimes or even more.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that that's true though. We definitely navigate personal relationships a little differently. I think again because the stakes are higher, it just means something much deeper to you. And so I think the minute that happens, there's definitely the heart that kinds of wants to take the
Exactly.
front stage and, keep things happy and calm, I guess.
In fact, when you say that, right, it's also a little complicated for a person like me. So, if you have seen, you're always thinking of what is in it for the others, and it is equal priority for everyone. It is
Mm.
very, very difficult for someone with that kind of a mindset or thought, guiding principles to distinguish, okay, this is my immediate family, this is my wife and my daughter, and this is what my extended family is. Because that distinction of what I would do for these two people versus what I would do for my sibling or a cousin or someone else, sometimes that becomes a very, very complex infighting within myself. Uh, and I struggle quite a bit with that.
Okay. And how do you navigate that then?
It's a work in progress. I haven't
It's
mastered it.
yeah, I think we're learning that constantly with every new situation that comes up. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe, in a situation like that where it is still about the heart, I think your approach of trying to bring in the logical elements of thinking might actually be a perfect combination.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a work in progress.
Okay, fair. Well, I know you love food. You are a foodie and you also enjoy cooking. So let's talk about your approach to cooking. What do you do when you're by yourself alone in the kitchen? Is it the same kind of a thought process that you follow, or is cooking, more from the heart for you?
Okay, it's an interesting question. Cooking, when I started cooking during the hostel days in 2000, 2001, right? So it was more basic necessities because you have classes to go to, cook something in between, have a good meal so that you are refreshed and have energy throughout the day, and then in the evening I would also do a little bit of a part-time work to fund my higher studies. So it was a little bit of a what is quick, what is filling, and when you are away from home, what reminds you of home, and
Reminds me.
and
Yeah.
the taste
Yeah.
that you have had. That's what food means, right? And over the
Mhm.
years, right now, the food is more of the experience that I'm trying to create. What is that experience? So on a Sunday morning when I'm kind of saying, hey, let's cook something for my daughter and my wife, that's a and for myself. It's a experience, okay? It's a relaxed morning. So what do I kind of cook? What is it that both of them can enjoy? Where there is a little bit of you can see the see your experience, the love and affection. So it's a different thing altogether. How it starts today, and throughout the week or weekdays, it becomes a little complex to prepare a meal on a for a lunch, maybe a breakfast, evening tea. But Saturday, Sundays are a little relaxed, and therefore more cooking happens with the thought of what is best, what is comfortable, what is cozy for the family. A small sit together, they feel valued. That's the thought. So a little bit of a lot of mind that kind of or feeling and heart that goes, not a mind, lot of heart that goes in for those
Yeah,
meals.
for sure. Yeah, I think it's all stemming from the heart, and then the mind steps in to figure out the actual execution of it, maybe.
Yeah, 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 that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
but that sounds lovely that you go through that experience with your family on the weekends. That's very nice.
Try
Yeah.
that.
So if you were to talk about expectations that the world has, right, whether it's family, friends, or at a workplace, I think sometimes it's easy to kind of get cluttered in your head and start overthinking outcomes because you feel the weight of expectations and someone wants something or someone needs something or someone just feels like you need to deliver, whether you're delivering a project at work or whether you're delivering something like an experience with a friend or a family where they're looking forward to something from you. Do you
Yeah.
think this is stressful? Do you think that puts you in a loop of trying to overthink these decisions, or do you feel like it's actually quite easy to navigate that because you're clear with your baseline?
Yeah, I think this latter part that you just mentioned is slightly easier for me to manage, and I'll tell you how I do this. So thankfully, during early career or earlier work, right? When I was still more carefree attitude in my life, I came across multiple books and resources, and one of them is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Then you had a couple more books, right? Riding the Waves of Culture is another book which has helped me shape myself or my thought processes quite a bit. In one of these books, there's one phrase on expectation, which is the one concept of explicit and implicit expectation, and that kind of gave so much clarity in life that I'm kind of grateful what that means, right? So it
Can you
it
explain that, please?
sure. So I think one of the things is if you are working, because every role each one of us play at a workplace
Mhm.
is played by someone else before you,
True.
right? So which means how did they play, what did they do? Some
Mhm.
things are written in your job description or your JD. Some
Yeah.
things that they have done, which is never written on a job description, they have done that out of their own interest, curiosity, passion.
Mhm.
So, for a business leader, for instance, if he or she is always been served with an extra information, extra advice, extra research paper, extra this, because the previous person who was playing your role used to find it quite appealing, it was part of his or her persona, then that is what the leader would expect from the incumbent who's coming into the role,
Yes.
right? That becomes an implicit expectation,
Mhm.
but He or she will never be able to pinpoint that this is what I expect out of you unless you have asked them, hey, what was your expectation? What did you really kind of get from him or her as well? And therefore, it's always said, right, it's a big shoes to fill. So, what does
Yeah.
that big shoe really mean?
What
Can you
does it
explain?
really mean?
Yeah. So sometimes I have
Yeah.
those fun conversations at the beginning of my relationship with any leader or any team member that I'm sure you have worked with the previous person, you know what he or she brought. Was there something that he or she did which kind of really contributed or
Mm.
impacted you significantly, or you liked something really? Maybe if you tell me that, it's easier for me to keep that in my mind while serving you or working with you.
Yeah,
So
okay,
that's
that makes sense. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's definitely a very nice way of understanding expectations, the more obvious and the less obvious ones.
So there is this
Mm.
famous quotation or a question that is asked by everyone. So the question is, what time does the 11 a.m. show start? Like,
Okay.
hey, isn't that always obvious? 11 a.m. show will start at 11 a.m., right?
Yeah.
But people will still ask you what time this show begins. So,
Uh-huh.
what basically they are really asking you is, where do you think I should stand so that when I'm with my family, because typically if you go to Disneyland, you have children with you. The assumption
Right.
is
It's
you
a
have
family.
gone,
Yeah.
it's a family trip. So, what could be a good space for me to spot and the response? So, the Disneyland staff are trained to respond, saying, "Oh, the 11 o'clock show will begin shortly. If you are with family, you should stand at this place because then there is an AC in this particular, and then a lot of people will keep opening the door, so you will still get that breeze. It'll be comfortable for
Uh,
you and your family." Do you get that?
yeah. Wow. That's not something
So,
I would have thought about.
so that's the explicit and implicit. So question behind the question. So
Question behind the
that
question.
So that's that one thought which has kind of kept me on the hook. If people are saying this, what is that question behind the question that's
Mm.
got them to ask this question?
Yeah, that's interesting because I think it comes down to not just looking at things at a very surface level, but using our own critical thinking and judgment to lean into what could be beyond the screen in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope that explains your question on expectation and how do you
Yeah.
navigate.
Yes, for sure. So let's say that it's almost 2 decades later. I know you have a little baby girl at home, and in about 2 decades, she will be ready to set off on her own course and, explore life and the world. So, if she were to be watching this video of yours, as she's at that point of jumping into life, what would your advice to her be?
I think each person looks at the world very differently. So my advice to my daughter will be, don't take life too seriously, man. It is for you to enjoy. It's a phase of learning. It's a phase of building relationships. So don't burn bridges. Uh, Keep a working relationship with everyone. I have seen amazing results. People are thinking about me because I was not in the room, but people kept thinking about me even in my absence. I would say as long as you don't fight or burn bridges, if you are able to maintain that one relationship with everyone or one kind of open relationship with everyone at work, at school, at college, at home, I think you have achieved. There's this quote that I read somewhere. It says like 60 seconds of being sad or unhappy, you have lost 60 seconds of being happy. So
Yeah,
choose
yeah.
wisely. That's the advice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think I would take that advice as just leaning into your own heart, whether we want to
Yeah.
call it our heart or whether we call it our gut feeling or whatever. But I think essentially it comes down to just going within and looking at what resonates and how you can bring your authentic self. I think that's something that I've kind of drawn on as we've been talking for this last
Yeah.
30 minutes or so, you've said multiple times is not to have a facade or not to have a mask, not to be pretentious. So I think there's a lot that I've drawn in terms of how can I be my authentic self and present that, and lean in to every situation from that perspective.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is, Sanjana. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rahul. This was absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad we got to catch up, and hopefully, we'll do this in person sometime soon.
Yes.
But I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And yeah, it was absolutely great. So, once again, thank you.
Thank you to you and best wishes to all your listeners.
Yes, and for those listeners out there, I think I think I opened this by talking about all of these different tabs that our mind constantly has open. There's so much noise and clutter sometimes, but I think let's just start leaning into our own heart, our own inner voice, and try and close some of those tabs. And if we can't close them, maybe at least try and minimize them. So keep listening, and I will see you next time.